God, yeah, I know it's alarming.
Does that mean we've started?
We're not started, but we're just capturing a little bit of fun preamble.
Yeah.
Gives me
Which
gives me room in the edit to.
Yeah, it means you now have to repeat yourself, basically, Tom.
Yeah. Fuck.
Well, no pressure, 'cause now it's recorded. Yeah. So
fuck.
Hey,
This is too much, guys. This is too much. Sorry. Fuck. Shit.
Tom was just
right. What was I saying? Yeah.
Yeah, you were just telling me about where you've been living and where you're living now.
Yes.
The listeners.
This is Tom, by the way.
Yeah.
He'll be joining us for this episode.
Yeah, they just pulled me in off the street and just helping out. No, I've been in the Netherlands for the last year, studying in a small town called Groningen, doing my masters, and I completed that 2 months ago, and now I've got a job in London.
Awesome.
So as a data analyst.
Cool. What was your masters in? So data as well.
Yeah, data science.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds super interesting.
Yeah, no, lots of numbers, machine learning, bit of coding. The Netherlands was amazing, so I joined the rugby team over there and got suitably drunk with them. Yeah, it was an amazing year, really. I learned loads with the masters. I also, from my bachelor's degree in economics, I feel like I don't know anything about economics, whereas now my masters, I actually felt like I was learning stuff and data science stuff. So
that's what you'd hope to gain from a masters, is some level of education and knowledge.
Yeah, but my economics degree, apparently I'm an economist. Well, probably not that half. I've got a degree in it. I don't know anything about it.
Still cool.
We won't get political. I nearly made a joke like, do you want to give us your take on the crashing pound? And I was like, we're not going that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to the pound.
Let's hope it sees a comeback.
Yeah, I'm fine for it. Comes from the depths.
Just jumping back a bit, I did actually. I went through a phase of trying to get into economics because I always regretted not studying it. So I'm almost kind of envious that you did study a bit. Like as in, I don't think I've ever I probably never had the passion enough for it to do it to degree level, but I kind of wish I'd sort of taken it at school or something like that, just to get the grounding in it. But so I went through a phase of just trying to read all those very short introduction books and all that kind of stuff, just to get the basic grounding. It's useful to have, especially.
Yeah, to be honest, I did actually really enjoy the course. I really enjoyed learning about it and sort of putting things in a real world perspective was fascinating, really. But yeah, I just feel like I don't know, I think maybe it was more an issue with the whole education system where it just felt like I was learning to pass for an exam rather than to learn anything about actual economics. But yeah, I technically did economics and business management, but the difference between I was one module off making it a full economics degree, and I wish I could have done that because some of the business stuff was just ridiculous. It was just going from some intense calculus economic lectures to some crappy business motivational speech. Was quite different.
Is none of the business stuff coming into play in your London office-based lifestyle now? You're not having to do any
we've got Maslow's hierarchies up on the wall. Real focusing on those motivational aspects. Yeah, no, not at all.
How is the London high life treating you?
Yeah, it's great. Thanks. Really enjoying it so far. Although I was in hospital last week, as Louis knows, that was not ideal. So it was a bit of a weird stop, but I'm fully fit. I'm fine now. I just had some bowel complications.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. So it wasn't ideal, but I'm fully fit now, and I feel like this week has been my first where I feel properly settled now.
Yeah, good to hear you're feeling a bit better. That's good.
Thanks. It was just a weird 48 hours. Just that it's the weirdest thing is being ill, not with your mum. When I'm at home and I'm ill, oh, you got your mum, she'll look after you, and you got friends and family here. I was just in my room on my own in the middle of London, just feeling awful. It was such a weird feeling. And then I
assume you went to a London hospital then.
Yeah, I did. I went to St. Thomas's, and again, that's what's being in London is quite surreal. When I first went to the hospital, I had no idea where I was. I just sort of Googled the closest A&E place. I was kind of sick and ill in the Uber on the way to A&E. So I had no idea where I was. And then after I finally came out of hospital, I just walk out the front door and bloody Big Ben's on my left in Westminster. And I'm like, what the? And that's what's making London quite surreal at the moment. That I'm just like, this is like some holiday tourist destination. And I'm just like, I'm coming out to it without even realizing it. Yeah.
I feel like that's a little bit like in the deep end, like moving to a new city and then immediately having to use the local hospital services.
Yeah.
It's really throwing yourself in
yeah.
to the extreme life. Like, I don't know, Ronan, have you even sampled London hospitals yet?
I haven't, to be fair, no. But just the whole phenomenon that you're basically describing there, Tom, of like London's just a surreal place to live in because you've seen it all on a postcard before or you've seen it all on TV before. And that just makes it like never seem quite real. I think that is like something slightly unsettling about the London experience, at least in the centre, especially. Like it just feels like a model village.
Yeah, no, I mean, so was I saying this to you the other day, Louis? So I cycle into work and I'm based in Shoreditch, but I'm south of the river. So I was cycling back from work the other day and it was so surreal where I was just going through with all these massive, incredibly tall buildings next to me, like proper city life, people everywhere. Then I was crossing Tower Bridge and just like looking around on the bridge, just seeing just all these touristic sites. And then the bloody suspension bridge went up. So it was like, oh, this thing that people will get, they're lucky that they saw the bridge go up and loads of people queuing up to see it. And I was just there, stood on the bridge like, this is a bloody nuisance. This is like,
it's an inconvenience.
I'm hungry, mate. That's another 15 minutes on my journey. But it was pretty cool just being in the middle of Tower Bridge for like 10, 15 minutes waiting for the bridge to go up and down and just looking around at just being in London. Like, this is my daily commute.
I had it today where there's a lot less exciting than seeing the bridge go up, but my bus didn't coming back from Hannah's, and I got really annoyed with it. And I think that would just be a standard experience anywhere else in the country. But I was like, this just shouldn't happen in London.
That's how I know. That's how I know you've already spent too long there that you're getting irritated by like a bus being slightly late because nowhere else they're never on time anywhere else. And we've discussed that. We've drunkenly walked back through London like, God, they have it so good and they take it for granted. Now you're becoming one of them.
So are you based in London then, Rowan, at the moment?
Yes, yeah. So I've been down here for about half a year. I'm Brixton Hill based, but works of more centrally.
Oh, nice.
I work on Baker Street actually, which is another thing that makes me feel like I've just so quickly got used to the London lifestyle. Well, yeah, exactly. I'm right by like Sherlock Holmes's place, and instead of thinking, oh, that's pretty cool, I'm like, these bloody tourists getting ripped off, like standing outside a building. But like, I think as a kid that really excited me.
You do get that a little bit in like York and like other places like that, because obviously like York's got these like really old walls, like Roman era walls, a really old minster, and people come in and they get off the train and they're greeted by this like incredible like piece of history that dates back to the Romans, and they're like, wow, and then the rest of us are just like walking past like, oh fucking hell. It's like something, you know, I'm pretty sure some of us are drunkenly pissed on those walls.
Yeah.
Do you just take it for granted wherever you live in?
Although it does, I feel like I never even, like when I was younger, I never even experienced any of the touristy stuff. Like I only went to the top of the Minster, which is the big cathedral in York, like 2 months ago, and like loads of the historical stuff. I just feel like because I've grown up there, I'm like, oh, I don't need to do it.
I mean, to be fair, now that you've moved to London, do you think you'll even do like touristy things in London? Because like, you just kind of get on with like regular life. As I imagine it was like that way in the Netherlands as well, as to a certain extent you move somewhere. And unlike when you visit and you're like, oh, I need to tick off this tourist attraction and that great sight to see, you just kind of go about day-to-daying, pop into the shop, pop into the pub, visiting friends. And like all of us doing all the cool touristy stuff no longer really like is on your radar.
Well, it depends. It depends what type of touristy stuff it is, because one of the touristy stuff in Groningen, it has the biggest pub in Europe. So obviously, I did that touristy thing. So if it's related to alcohol, then I'll be doing the touristy thing.
Biggest pub in Europe. That's
The biggest pub in Europe, the one that we signed their big Adam.
Yeah, biggest bar.
That is mad.
It's probably like some knockoff site that claimed it. Let me double check it. Biggest pub.
Yeah, can we get some citations on these facts?
I'm pretty sure it's TripAdvisor says
Is this just some
the
Dutch
Drie
thing where-
Justes.
You know, like how like
No, it's it's called the Three Sisters because it's three pubs next to each other, which probably makes it bigger.
there's definitely a phenomenon in England. Obviously, like the whole thing of like every village claims to have like the oldest pub in the country. I'm now imagining just every Dutch
Yeah.
village has like the biggest pub in Europe, just like a recurring phenomenon.
Yeah. No, TripAdvisor says it here.
Oh, that's incredible.
Do we trust TripAdvisor though?
Oh yeah, absolutely we do, because it's a place I've been to, so therefore I can claim it.
It's in your interests right now to trust it.
Yeah.
I want to go. I'm kind of invested. What's the name of it? Has it got a name?
The Three Sisters, or the Dutch pronunciation I just can't do. The Drie Gezustes.
That sounded thoroughly Dutch to me.
I actually got a recommendation for an Edinburgh pub called the Three Sisters as well. It's a very common
wow.
name.
I think we went there, Louis, when you came to visit me.
Yeah. We were in the beer garden up front.
Yeah.
It's the one where it's like three buildings all kind of knocked through, owned by the same person, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a load of frat boys like across the square.
Yes, Vindicat.
There was like a what do you call them? Like a frat house. That's literally just in the
Like
central square, Ronan.
As in like
Fucking bizarre.
loads of college students, or
it was like one of the nicest buildings. Yeah. University students. Vindicat is like the biggest fraternity in the Netherlands. And so on the central square of the city, like where it should be like a 5-star hotel where people go visit, and it's just a fraternity house. And I've been in it a few times, and it's literally just like a homeless shelter with just a load of convention rooms everywhere. But it's like piss on the walls, beer bottle or glasses, cups everywhere. Real manky.
But you couldn't tell from the outside. Like the outside.
No, you couldn't from the outside.
Building.
I didn't realize that was a culture in Europe. To be honest, I thought that was kind of quite a uniquely American thing for some reason. But good to know that the Europeans can speak such levels as well.
Yeah, it's definitely not like a fraternity where they do it different. It's still the same, where it's just a group where students go to get drunk and get up to mischief.
Would you say that that fraternity house was in such a bad state that it could use a different kind of fix?
Louis, that was beautiful.
That's my segue.
Do the sing.
That was very good. Love it.
This thing that you nail a beautifully smooth segue and then you instantly ruin it by like dissecting it.
No, that's what makes it beautiful. That's what makes it beautiful.
Agreed.
I'm sure there's some Bombay Bicycle Dutch sort of segue as well.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, just
bikes.
Yeah, bikes. Yeah.
There's a club as well. Fraternity's a club.
Oh, there's so many layers to it. It's so huge.
More of something else entirely.
This week is our first attempt at having a guest on for a full-length episode. Last episode, we did a little mini-sode with Alex, which was a nice little chat about what music he'd been listening to and some festivals he'd been to and was excited to go to. But this week is our return to album discussion form, and we've invited my good friend Tom on, who Ronan also knows from Newcastle. And he got to pick the album and got to make us listen to it. And Tom, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you picked and why you picked it?
Well, first, thanks for having me, boys. I'm a big fan of the podcast. I've listened to all but the last two, so I need to catch up on those ones. I'm a big fan.
You've listened to about 3.
Enjoyed it thoroughly. Yeah.
Fan.
Honestly, I just hate Alex and I hate Park Life. Was it? No, I'm busy at the moment.
Steve.
Yeah, so I chose Bombay Bicycle Club as my album. They're my all-time favorite music artist. I've loved them since I was a kid. I love them still today. They're probably the one band that I've had lots of favorite bands throughout my life, but not one that's quite persisted like Bombay. That they're always in my top 2-3 artists on the Spotify Wrapped and stuff. And yeah, so it was very difficult to choose which album because I like a lot of them. There's bangers on all of them, but I thought A Different Fix was the one that had the most that I liked.
Was it the one that was like the most consistently enjoyable for you? Like, do you feel like every single track on it is a hit?
I don't know, because that's I wouldn't say it was. So the tough one would be between A Different Fix and So Long See You Tomorrow. The album afterwards was called, and I think it was almost like those 3 or 4 songs that I liked on A Different Fix were like the first songs that I listened to of Bombay. Then I preferred So Long See You Tomorrow with a few songs on there. And then I kind of went back to, and I feel like I discovered more songs on A Different Kind of Fix. So it was almost like it had more of a longevity where I was like discovering new songs later. And yeah, but most I'd say 80% of the songs on the album I'm big fan of.
Was this Ronan? Was this one that you'd ever listened to before? Or
No. I'd listened to I think the first one, which I can't even remember the name of, but which I very much associate with that kind of whole. Well, I don't think it's just me that associates with it. I think it is kind of associated with that whole sort of like noughties indie sort of phenomenon, I suppose. I had listened to that one, but I don't think I'd actually listened to any of the other albums. I'd listened to songs from it. So Shuffle, from this is kind of obviously a pretty big one. I'd heard that plenty before. I think possibly still the standout. Like, I think it is just incredible. That's probably rushing way ahead actually. So I'm just gonna rewind a bit there. But that was pretty much all I'd heard from this album. So it was really fun to sort of dive in with fresh eyes, I guess.
I think it's definitely like a cornerstone of, like you say, that kind of like 2010s indie influx that I think we've previously referred to on the podcast as like the throwaway indie scene, because there was just so much of it. But I think there were like some standout bands, and I think I don't know for definite, but I'd like take a strong guess at the fact that at the time it was really Bombay Bicycle Club and Two Door Cinema Club, the two clubs.
Yeah.
Did they have a rivalry? I don't know. Or was it just like a shared?
To continue the Blur Oasis theme.
Was there a club off? Yeah. There must always be a rivalry.
I don't think. Yeah, I think it was very much enjoying both.
Yeah, I think kind of to some extent, like, I actually think Bombay Bicycle Club were kind of part of a mildly different scene by this point. I don't know how true this is because this isn't based on any research or anything, but I kind of think by this point I associate them with some of the emerging like more art poppy side of that indie scene. So like, you know, when you get Alt J and even sort of Foles and like all that stuff, like actually it's more kind of the early Foles stuff that fit into that, but you know, the slightly kind of art schooly sort of like what Blur were to Oasis, actually, like trying to do sort of more kind of quirky things with their music. I don't know how true that is, but I associate them with that sort of branch to some extent anyway.
Yeah, like if you had to track the trajectory, like the indie trajectory, it would be more art poppy going off in that direction. Then like maybe on a different branch you'd have like Arctic Monkeys, and then like they all kind of stem from the same. They're under the same umbrella, but like I definitely see what you say about like they go off in different directions and then they lead to like different kind of influences.
I feel that's almost why they don't compete in a way. They're sort of two different branches. I don't feel like they compete in any way.
Plus, has anything really, like, has there been like any major competition the scale of like Oasis Blur? I can't really think of one, but I'm starting to think I must be thinking of forgetting something obvious. But
Tupac and Biggie.
Yes, that's the
but that was 90s as well. Anything post.
Oh, you mean like a modern rivalry?
Yeah.
Wanted versus JLS.
Yes, the true.
One Direction versus that other boy band?
One Direction.
Wasn't there another one against X Factor?
The other Direction.
Boy band.
Oh, maybe. Was that just a clear winner with One Direction just completely wiping the other one?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
feels like it right now. But that sounds.
Ed Sheeran and Wiley.
Wiley.
Yeah.
No, No, I think it probably stems to the accessibility and availability of music now. That means that you don't really, there's less competition just because you can listen to so much on Spotify. I feel like it was more, I don't know, years ago. It's like you buy you go into the shop and you can only afford one, and then you join the group and it's more fandom. Whereas now, because everything's way more accessible on Spotify, you can just listen to it all. And it's so you can listen to whenever you want. So it's not like there's a lack of time.
You can have a playlist with Bombay and Two Door on, and it's a vibe because they are a good vibe together. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
It is all that kind of that. I was listening to it over the weekend and then again today, and I was thinking like this is what I would describe this album as well. Mostly the first half of it. The second half gets a little bit sad, but the first half, happy, poppy, and I think of it as like brunch music, like Sunday brunch. You've got a glass of orange juice, a coffee, some croissants.
Yes.
You're cooking some eggs, and on low volume, you got your little speaker on in the corner, like popping out some nice.
You know what? I think I have literally done that. I think I've literally done that.
I think that's I don't know why. Like, I think listening to I've realized like doing this podcast when I try to think about albums, a lot of the times it's like the mental images they create and the places that they take me to. And popping this one on, I was just like imagining this scene, and it might have been because I had a banging brunch on Sunday morning. To be fair, shout out to Charlie and David who do listen. Great spread. You're renowned for a great spread. But yeah, and it's just like Bombay feels like the brunchy vibe. But also, I think if you then turn the volume up, you can also have a great sing along. Like we did when me and Tom recently saw them live, actually, recently-ish, live at Leeds.
How was that?
It's the first. So Bombay, I've as I was saying, I've liked my entire life. So it was the first time I ever got to see him live, and especially it was because Leeds Fest, like 5-6 years ago when we went, Louis was there. We missed Bombay Bicycle Club. I forget, was it because we saw like Blink-182 instead or something like that?
Oh,
it was
God, it better not have been.
It was. I think it was.
Amazing.
And we missed them, and I was absolutely gutted. But I thought, I'll see him again. And then anyway, like 2 months later, they broke up. So I was heartbroken. Like, no, I'm never going to see Bombay Bicycle Club again. And then as soon as they got back together, having like the 3-year hiatus they had, I was instantly like, right, we're getting tickets. I don't care where or when. And had a look, where's the nearest concert? It's bloody 20 minutes down the road, but like their only concert. And so yeah, we saw them at Leeds, and it just was so like all this sort of anticipation, missing out on years ago, and being there with my sister as well, who sort of introduced me to Bombay. It was really good festival. Enjoyed it a lot.
I want to explore that vibe then. So does that mean, is this a bit, because Louis mentioned, say with Blur, it's almost like a kind of it's a family album. Hopefully I'm not kind of misrepresenting that, Louis. You know, like Part Life had sort of childhood memories sort of tied to it and stuff like that. Would you say that Bombay feels similar to you, Tom?
100%. So when we were talking about Two Door earlier, there's sort of Two Door's Tourist History is probably one of the first album that I really liked. So my pick was between both these albums. But the thing that both these albums had in common, that they stemmed from my sister just playing them in the bedroom next door, and I just hear them all the time. And she used to go and see them in Fibbers. So I used to have this little leaflet flyer in my room for like, it's probably still there to be honest, saying it was like Bombay Bicycle Club at Fibbers for £5 or something crazy. And so yeah, I think the nostalgia, because I think as well, because I still listen to Bombay Bicycle Club still today all the time, but they've still got so much nostalgia vibes from just being around here, coming over from school, hearing my sister playing it, and emotion.
You know it's good music as well when your siblings playing it all the time and it doesn't just drive you up the wall. Like it actually connects with you. And sometimes I hear music played from my brother's room and all I can think is, my God, your taste in music is questionable.
It's funny because there's one song that my sister, all her music didn't resonate with me, because I still remember this bloody song. It was called Birthday Sex, and my sister would play it religiously, and it had this weird like God, I don't know, this melody, and it's like birthday sex, and oh God, it was awful. So yeah, not all songs resonated, but Bombay and Tudor did.
Put Bombay back on, just banging on the wall.
Well, that kind of dashes my theory, because I was about to say the other difference would be that presumably is this your older sister, Tom, whereas Louis, you have a younger brother.
Yes.
I thought perhaps there might be a dynamic of you kind of look up to an older sibling, whereas you kind of deride a younger sibling sometimes, just as the natural pecking order of things. I
think there is an element to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I kind of like. I'm not sure though. Maybe kind of. I think maybe I was just sort of bottom of the pile, even with my younger sister. Just, I once got told by Ellie that I should be meaner, because that's just what older brothers are supposed to do. But then since then she has kind of rewritten it that I could be mean. So maybe I did my job at times.
You can naturally just fall into it.
Yeah, I think so.
We should do a sibling episode at some point, Ronan, and get our siblings on and get them to.
Oh, I would listen to that for sure. Yeah.
Get to see how much we could deride them or they could deride us. See what the pecking order really is. My brother would love the opportunity to just try and take the piss.
I was like, oh, you played One Direction for like a year straight when we were younger. Like,
you probably would try to gaslight me into. Tom, I've got a few questions for you.
Hit me up.
So we've kind of covered like why you picked this album, and what it kind of makes you think of is like your connection with your sister, and just the fact that it's, I mean, your go-to album over the years, or go-to artist over the years, and then this album in particular has a bunch of tracks. But is there like a certain kind of mood you're in when you want to put it on? Do you put it on to cheer yourself up, or do you put it on when you're already feeling cheerful, or do you just fancy a bit of Bombay? Like what's kind of the vibe of this album or these songs that you go for?
It's hard because I feel a lot of the time the songs almost find the mood themselves. So I've got there's 4 or 5 songs that sort of, they just make me think of a specific time in my life and a mood. And then I think ever since that moment happened, and I'm in that sort of moment again, then I'm like, oh, this would be a great time for this song. So for example, Your Eyes, that was sort of the song that, again, I feel like I only discovered it, although I've known it for a long time. I only like really discovered it where it resonated with me when I was in the Netherlands for the first time, like 4 or 5, 3, 4 years ago when I first went to the Netherlands. And I was just cycling. I was out with a load of the boys, and then I was cycling back, as you do from the Netherlands, quite drunk with my earphone in, which is not the safest thing to do, but it's the Netherlands, so it doesn't matter. And I was just, that song came on, and it was just one of those surreal moments where I was like, I'm in another country right now at like 2 a.m, quite bevved on a bike, just sort of like literally like feel like I'm flying sort of down this street, and Your Eyes just came on in shuffle. And the end of Your Eyes is like one of my favorite parts of the whole album, where it just has this sort of build. He's just saying the same thing, it's building and building, and just I think being part on the bike, and I'm just sort of like gliding away, and this song comes on, it really hit me. And so going forward, in moments where I'm just sort of often like late at night, sort of, do you know those like night city sort of vibes you get? I like to put your eyes on, and so that's one of the examples. But yeah, it's sort of the songs find the moments themselves.
It's an album that transports you back to moments that you've loved. Yeah,
isn't it incredible the way that songs can do that? Like almost like smells, where they can create such a specific emotion, or replicate such a specific emotion that like we don't even have the language for. Like language feels far too limited. So like if you said, "Oh, I felt happy," or "I felt sad," you know, it wouldn't come anywhere close.
To cover it out all,
capturing that. Obviously, we have more complex language than happy and sad, but still, it doesn't sort of come close enough. Whereas, like, just a song can immediately evoke that, and it's often like you've just been describing, so personal, because it's something that you experienced one time that was just completely unique to you. You know, even if other people were around you listening to the same thing, they wouldn't have necessarily experienced the same thing. It's one of the things I just find so incredible about music, its ability to do that to us.
Yeah,
and it's universal.
It's sort of why, like, 100%. I think everyone's got that song or album that you can't. It's almost like I appreciate when I sometimes show this song to someone, and I get if it doesn't resonate with them. It's like I just know it resonates with me. And like someone says, put on your favorite song at a party, and one of them is on this album, how can you swallow so much sleep? And I'm like, it's just not going to hit the vibe. It's not going to. It resonates with me in this specific moment and stuff. Can't really describe it. And if they don't, like, I can see them not resonating with them. It's just so hard to. I don't know how to like put into words how it affected me, because I don't know if it will affect someone else in that same way.
That absolutely makes sense to me. Yeah, it's like the meaning that's contained within music sometimes isn't actually contained within it. It's contained within your relationship with it, I suppose, and that's a very, very different thing. And obviously, like, I mean, there are certain things that, like, you know, you play a minor chord and it sounds more sad. You know, there are certain technical things that can mean music will generally make people feel a certain way, but it doesn't come close to capturing that particularly unique bond that we can develop with songs, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, like, so how can you swallow so much sleep? At the start of that song, it's like a long sort of build up of the song, and then about, I don't know, like 30 seconds in, there's just a really subtle bass in the background that just suddenly kicks in, and it's so mad that it's just this little bass just suddenly coming and raising the song up. It just really, really resonates with me, and I can still picture being on the bus, and I felt it was like, again, I'd listened to the song loads, but I think maybe I had my headsets on, and then I just suddenly really picked it up, and it was just how like one little bass sort of thing just tickled my inside. So I was like, oh, that's
I think it's something that Bombay do really well, is like something that makes them stand out as an artist, is they do have this like really kind of deep understanding of how to make these kind of, I want to say, like, they're like emotionally layered songs where you have these intricate little bits of instrumentation, like the bass, like you say, that just adds the build up. And I think that one of these artists, that's why I think I agree with Ronan's kind of assessment that like it potentially was part of the same wave as like Foles and stuff like that, is I think that these kind of artists under this umbrella all have this way of building and layering into this kind of musical climax moment. Like it all comes into this swelling orchestration. Is that a word? I'll go with it. Where and that always feels like it hits like some kind of like emotional release almost. And I think something that Bombay do particularly well is it all feels quite abstract. So I think somewhere that indie music can fall down quite a lot is it's very much wearing its message on its sleeve. Sometimes the lyrics are very kind of upfront and are basically just like, you know, the songwriter or the lyricist like pouring out their exact emotions, and you're like listening to someone else's problems. Whereas I think what Bombay do most of the time, like in my opinion, is capture kind of more of like a general sense, or a general sense of happiness or sadness. Like you say, like language doesn't do enough to kind of grab these complicated feelings, but they definitely hit on like things like nostalgia quite a lot. And you don't have to project too hard to kind of feel it yourself and kind of relate to the song, because the song kind of morphs to you in that moment. And I guess that's why it's so easy to form like a wonderful memory and a wonderful experience listening to Bombay's music, is because it you get caught up in the swell of the song, and that catches you in the swell of your own emotion. And then, yeah, before you know it, you're drunkenly cycling down streets in the Netherlands with a headphone in one ear and a tear in one eye.
I mean, that you put it perfectly, Louis, there, because I think part of my concern always with, not a concern I was scared about, but I can't put into words how I feel about this music. It's just sort of, I feel it so much within myself. I'm not a very linguistic person. I think I'm bad at portraying my emotions or putting them into words. But that's exactly it. It's just like this feeling that just sort of, it swells, and yeah, it's just led to some of the most I feel one of the most amazing moments in my life, when the song just comes on and I'm in these surreal moments.
This has been something that we've talked about a few times actually on the podcast, I think, about when you can't really separate, say, lyrics from the music, and sometimes actually the lyrics aren't even particularly necessary. It is, and I think that's what we're talking about here. It is the music itself that seems to carry it. I sometimes think, I don't think this is true. I hate binaries like this, but I sometimes kind of slip into thinking that actually that is more what music should be. But I don't think that is true. I think that there is plenty of room for lyrics, and lyrics serve their own thing. But I do sometimes just get these occasional moments where I kind of feel something from the music alone that just, well, it's ineffable, isn't it? I suppose it's hard to put into words.
I've always said that I've always, at least I think I've said to Louis a few times, I've always been a music person or a sound person rather than a lyrical person, because even on some of these Bombay tracks that I've listened to religiously, I'll get the words wrong all the time. And it's like even when we're at the concert, Louis, and I was singing it, I'm like, I've listened to this song 1,000 times, but I'm still getting the words, because sometimes they just don't click into my head. But I mean, that doesn't matter. And that's not to say I don't like the lyrics, because sometimes when you do sing, when they roll off the tongue and they mean a lot to you. But yeah, I'm definitely the sound resonates a lot with me.
I think it's something that can potentially change over time as well. I'd say that I used to be not entirely, like, as in there was still a balance, but I think I used to be more of a lyrics person, whereas I increasingly, it's not necessarily the first thing I kind of turn to. I always find it confusing, I listen to so much kind of hip hop and stuff like that, and it's, you'd think that that's such a word-based genre that you're really taking in lyrics at that point. And I do sometimes, and there are lyrics that I love, but it's as much just the sort of flows and the sound of it, and that is definitely a recurring thing. Yeah, I think it is something that develops, or that is just sort of, again, a specific relationship to specific kinds of music, because there's definitely artists that I'll particularly appreciate the lyrics with. I don't know whether that's do you think there are lyrics in Bombay Bicycle Club that you are standouts to you?
See, that's where it's a very terrible question for me, because as I say, that sometimes they just don't stick in my head, and then I know that when the song goes and suddenly the lyric just goes in my head and like it feels like it makes sense. But nothing, I'm just such a terrible lyrical person that it's so much more the sound that just really resonates with me. But it doesn't mean any less in terms of my music love, I guess.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's very, very in keeping with themes that have come up on the podcast, I think. Louis, how about yourself? Did you sort of come across anything that, because I actually don't think, I think I kind of missed all lyrics on this album, but that's not to say that there wasn't stuff in there.
I think, I'm just having a quick glance at some of the lyrics in Shuffle, and it's something that I've always felt a little bit about Bombay is I think they're almost the perfect band for people who don't necessarily tune into the lyrics, because I think they do get quite abstract and a little bit, I don't know if like poetic is the right word, but poetic in the way that it's like, it's not a particularly clear, nothing's like literal, nothing's like, and then a man came through the door and said hello to his cat, it's all like, it's all about more about catching the vibe of what the song's trying to get at. So the Shuffle about having a nice little dance, and that's what the lyrics kind of hit to.
I remember reading the Shuffle lyrics for the first time ages ago, because listening to it, I couldn't pick up on the lyrics, even just listening to it. And then reading it, I was like, I still don't think I pick up on it's very abstract, which you get, is I think why it must resonate a lot more with me than someone else. But I guess I wonder if you could have like a proper English essay where you're analysing if they've got deeper meaning and stuff.
I think they all just kind of build towards the meaning of the song and the energy of what it's trying to attain. Like just reading some of them back, like once you get the feel of it, it wants you back for more. Now it gets ethereal. Feet ain't on the floor. One step like you needed it. Jumping up the wall. That whole that kind of ongoing, and that's building up the same time that the instrumentation is building up to the chorus. And it does capture this, the excitement of, I think for me, what Shuffle does is it captures the excitement of getting lost in a song and like losing yourself to a shuffle, to a dance, or like a moment where you're just fully absorbed in the music. And that's what the lyrics to me seem to be kind of getting at. But yeah, I don't know if there's any like deep intrinsic meaning hidden behind these lyrics.
No, it's interesting you say that, because I think my favorite story that I would say from this album that I don't know why I haven't said yet, but so is Shuffle is basically the first song that got me into music, where I decided feck, this music stuff is all right. Because so I remember, feck me, I must have been really young, maybe in like 10, 11, 12 years old. And I was in bed one night, just couldn't fall asleep. And I was like, what should I do? And I went on my old like iPhone 3G or wherever it was, and went on iTunes, and just so happened that my sister's iTunes library had synced because it was all on the same iCloud, whatever. And I saw this song Shuffle, and I just randomly pressed it, like with no expectation. I just sort of remember lying there in bed with my earphones in, probably like 2 a.m. again. But it shows that the moment doesn't matter. It can literally be in bed in the pitch black. Yeah. And I put on Shuffle for the first time, and as you were just saying then, Louis, I just felt like it was building up to this moment, and felt like so much was going on, and I was just under my covers in bed. And it just really, really, really stuck with me, that moment. And I remember going to school the next day thinking, I'm going to start listening to music now. And then from then on, instead of just saying, when someone said, what's your favorite artist, I just say what my dad's was and who he played all the time. I actually felt like I started forming my own music identity. So again, that's part of why I probably chose this album, because it feels like it's the first song, at least on it, that formed my music identity, and I still listen to it all the time this day.
I love it when a song that forms your musical identity still holds up. You know, I'm sure there's loads of people who look back and they go, oh. I don't want to talk about my initial listening experience, but yeah, no, that kind of a ethereal experience in the dark, headphones on, listening to a banging song. I can definitely picture it. I can almost like relate to the emotions. I can almost feel like that it's that magical moment. The first time I think there's that first time you ever listen to the first time you have your musical awakening, and then a few times after, which is things that Ronan you've talked about before, the kind of philosophy behind it all, but like the idea of like when a certain song kind of catches you unawares and reminds you what music can do and what it can make you feel. Because I think, like, especially with music being so easily accessible and so easy to listen to, a lot of the time you can just have it just as background, and there's just a lot of songs that are like, they're nice, but they're just, they're just on, or they're like, oh, I like it. But every now and again you'll have that kind of come to God moment with music, where a certain song just hits you in the right mood at the right time, and it just really like has this really special connection. And I think in that sense, like, I can think about the last time a song made me feel like that, and it excites you. I think that's what the magical moment is like, you're excited by what you're listening to, and you're like, oh, I want to hear more of this. Like, this makes me feel like I'm floating.
Ethereal is the word. It's that lyrics in Shuffle.
It's like the difference between having like a Mona Lisa up on your wall versus a wine o'clock poster. You know what I mean? Like just a wine o'clock poster would be nice and entertaining, but Mona Lisa, not that actually, to be fair, I feel like we're so exposed to it, maybe it doesn't have the same power that it's supposed to have. But Mona Lisa is something that's supposed to kind of like make you feel things that you can't even explain, and that is an incredible and unique experience. And it's not to sort of slag off the wine o'clock poster, but it's doing a very different thing.
Yeah,
and sometimes it is nice, when music has that power just to just completely strike somewhere deep. And that can happen with anything as well. Now I feel like by talking about a wine o'clock poster, I've made it like a particular attack. But
you could have people on social media attacking you now.
Yeah, all the wine mums. No, nothing wrong with wine o'clock posters, and that there is not supposed to be any specific music correlate to that, but it's more about the feelings. That's
yeah. I mean, that's ultimately what matters most, is it? Like, you can try and like objectively review music and talk about like all bit and that, but like when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, if a song makes you feel like a certain way, if you have like a special moment with it, a special connection to it, or it just tickles that, I think Tommy said earlier, tickled your stomach or something, like that little like butterfly moment.
Yeah.
That's when that song has like permanently, and I think that's maybe, I don't want to speak for all artists, but I'd like to imagine that a lot of artists are trying to kind of, when they're working at their best and they're kind of producing their kind of purest content that they're most proud of, they're trying to achieve that moment of elation and etherealness in like somebody giving a listen.
As I go through the album list now, I'm just realizing how many songs I've actually had that moment with. So I'll just reel them off quickly. But so, How Can You Swallow So Much Sleep, which I think is my favorite song in the album, and is close to one of my favorite songs of all time. Maybe it is. But one moment that stands out was I was on the Italy ski trip with Louis, and I remember playing it in the shower on the first day. So you haven't broken your leg yet, Louis, which is a funny story for another time. But yeah, I remember just playing it in the shower in Italy, and just thought this is pretty cool. Then also Bad Timing. I remember listening on a coastliner bus going back home from school, and just that's like a little 20-second snippet right at the end that I really, really loved. Your Eyes is said about. Lights Out, Words Gone is when walking the dog on this loop, and there's just a specific stretch of grass that just resonates. And that song, I can just picture myself walking down and actually singing it out loud because there's no one around.
I love that.
Shuffle Again is the one we were saying. Beggars is another, being in the Netherlands and going into university and cycling around campus with that song on. And then favorite Day is another moment on the plane, I think, was when it really resonated with me. So yeah, I never really counted how many actual moments I have of all these songs that stick out as memories.
Good album pick.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to it more now, I think.
All right, Ronan, do you want to pick off some favorite songs? Anything that stood out to you on your first listen?
I think, as I kind of touched upon at the beginning, Shuffle still to me stands out as like just not necessarily the best track, but just the standout track. It is pretty phenomenal. It's just an incredible kind of tight pop tune in a sense. So I mean that was actually like my main takeaway. But I also really liked Your Eyes, and then there was one which I actually didn't write down, and so now I'm not going to be able to remember it. But the way that the latter half of the album has a lot more kind of like almost sort of indie folky songs. There's one that's not quite like that, and I can't remember which one it is. There's one that's kind of more upbeat, almost kind of post-punky. I really liked that one. I should have written down which one it was.
Might be Favorite Day. I'm not too sure.
It could be. Let's say that it is. You know what? I'll quickly listen to them whilst you guys discuss, and I'll report back.
I just always have this bad habit of being like, I like them all. And also, I'm also going to pick like the ones that are really popular as well, because they are absolute classics. Like, How Can You Swallow So Much Sleep is just such a beautiful like intro to any song and any album.
I didn't realize that the start of this that it was the first song on the album actually, and so when I was saying that the first 30 seconds, it's my favorite 30 seconds where the bass just kicks in, just makes it mean even more that it's the start of the album where it's kicking in, not just the song.
It's such a nice introduction, and I actually have it. I have this album on vinyl. I picked up a record shop, a record market. And I am going to have you around at some point for the moment that the needle drops, and you get the little bit of a crackle as it starts, and then just like going into how Can You Swallow So Much Sleep is just one of those like really like sit back in your chair and go like moments with music.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
But I also just shout out to one of. I mean, I was about to say to one of the lesser well-known songs, but it still has 41 million plays. I also really like Lights Out, Words Gone. As well. That one really stood out to me on my most recent re-listen. Have you done some research, Ronan?
Yeah, it was What You Want. That's what I was thinking of. It's got this like. No, that wasn't in tune. It's got that. It does. It's got like a little jab, and it's kind of it's got like a kind of post-punk like energy to it, which I just kind of quite liked when it done.
Right. Okay. Well, did you put together a little quiz for us?
I did indeed. It's nothing. I was too hungover to do it yesterday, so I should. If I wasn't as hungover, then I'd have tried to make it really good. But I just did it on my lunch today, and it's quite simplistic.
Oh, don't worry. I think me and Ronan have both just done it. Like,
Louis, you gonna do the sting?
Oh god, I just completely forgotten how it goes. Do I start with like? Does it go welcome?
Nah,
I can't remember.
Oh
No,
yeah,
I know. I've got
got
it. I've got it. It's been a while.
What are you
It's been
doing?
a few weeks. I got it. I'm doing the introduction, and now it's time for the quiz. Dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun.
Hey!
Something like
So, welcome to the BBC quiz.
BBC
Not
quiz.
the British Broadcasting whatever or a big back clock.
Corporation.
It's Bombay Bicycle Club.
Hey!
So it's quite simplistic. I've got 6 questions. 2, because it's such a, like Tudor Cinema Club, it's such a weird collection of words. I've got 2 questions on Bombay, 2 questions on bicycle, and 2 questions on club.
Love to hear it.
Nice.
So, first question.
Oh, how do we actually? Just real quick before you jump into the first question. Usually it's been me asking Ronan or Ronan asking me. How do we want to do it? Do we want to do a question each? Because I feel like I'd say we could buzz in, but you have a massive disadvantage with the lag. So maybe
some of the questions are closest to, so you both give an answer, and then I'll be like, who's got the closest to it?
Sounds good.
But there are a few that maybe require a buzz, but you might not get it instantly.
Maybe announce a buzz. A buzz is going to be hard with the lag.
I guarantee that neither of us will get it at all, but I'll take my advantage.
God. Right. Well, first question. What? Actually, I'm going to phrase this question first. Oh, this is quite hard. What city was Bombay renamed to in like 1995? I can give you clues if you're that hopeless.
Buzz.
Go for it. Answer, Louis.
Is it Mumbai?
Hey, bingo!
Yay!
Well done. I didn't know that. I was well shocked. Know. Did you get that, Ronan?
No. Well, I should have claimed that one actually, shouldn't I? Yeah, it was a lag. It was a lag.
Yeah, it was the lag. It was behind. That's 1 point to Louis. Okay, next question. So this is a closest to answer. Mumbai is the most populous city in India, but what is that population? And then we'll go with the closest answer. So get thinking now. No Googling. What's the population? It's the most populous city in India. Mumbai/Bombay.
It's going to be scarily big. I'm going to go with 5 million.
Oh.
I should have got you to send me the answers first, because Ronan could just be like 5,000,001 now.
I accept that risk. I also feel like I'm way off, so...
Yeah, it does make me feel like I want to play it safer, so I'm going to go for like 15 million. I was thinking of going for something like 20 million or like, I don't know.
Oh, you should have gone. Well, you won, Ronan. You should have gone with your first thought. It was 20 million.
Jesus Christ!
Oh.
Yeah, it's massive, isn't it?
Do I still get that?
20 million people in one city.
Yeah. You get that. You're closest.
Yes. Sorry, Louis. I fully used my advantage there, but.
It'd have been impressive if you got it exact. So I think it'd been harsh to not give a point. Okay, on to round 2. Bicycle.
Yay.
First question: where was the first bike created? And I'll take 2 answers for this.
What does that mean? What do you mean?
As in, like, there's two different countries. I'll accept either.
What buzz? One of them's bound to be Netherlands.
No, it's not. It's a good shout. It's a good shout, to be fair. You think they'd
Buzz. England.
Bingo!
Yay!
Well done. Although, so that's the less accurate of the 2 answers. So the first bike was this. Again, this is off some random internet page, so I have no idea the validity of this. But it said the first bike was made in France, but the modern version, like the modern bike, was basically made in England.
Yes.
So I don't know the difference between the modern version and the
I'll take the
French
point.
version, but yeah, you can have that point. 2-1 to Louis. Okay. Second question. Speaking of the Netherlands and bikes, the closest to the answer. How many bikes are there in Amsterdam?
Ooh. All right. Are we typing this one out? Is that how we type it out?
Yeah. I
guess. No.
Oh no.
You guess first.
Okay. I'll guess first.
Yeah. Ronan, go first this time.
All right. I'm gonna say that there are. Oof. Okay. This is actually harder than it seems. I'm gonna go for like 900,000. Okay, I'll just make it 1 million. Actually, I'm gonna make it 1 million.
You. A clean mill.
Before you answer, Louis, what were you thinking?
I was
changing.
hoping he was gonna go like quite conservatively, and then I was just gonna do his number and 1, or jokingly say 20 million.
You could still do that, to be fair.
I don't know if it's over 1 million. That's a lot of bikes. I don't know the population of.
I reckon it will be, if that helps.
All right, I'll do 1,111,000.
And the winner is, with a total amount of bikes in Amsterdam of 880,000.
Fuck's sake!
So, Ronan, that was for your first guess, and you were going to say 900,000. You were 20,000 off. That was such a good guess.
Why are you so good at this?
The lesson here is clearly trust instinct. Although I think in the past we've said it's don't trust instinct. So different lessons for different things. Clearly.
Depending on the context and the situation, sometimes trust your instinct.
You got to trust your instincts and whether to trust your instincts.
But yeah, this was an even less legit website. It was just a bikesfunfacts.com. So no idea where 800,000 comes from, but it's the number. Okay, next on to round 3, with the scores tied at 2-2. We have the club round. So the first question is about the famed Bullingdon Club. Have you all heard about the Bullingdon Club?
Yes.
So it's famed for being a bunch of pigheads from Oxford. If anyone's seen the film Riot Club, it's based off that. And so this question is, when was the Bullingdon Club founded? And this is based off Wikipedia. So
Is this a closest to?
Yes,
and I have to go first this time.
Well, no, because that makes it unfair, because there's only one more. Well, you both went first once.
Yeah.
So text me it. I don't know if that's it, or put it in Discord. Can you DM me on Discord?
DM me.
I'll write it in the chat, and then you can do a 3.
Oh yes, good idea.
On general. Okay. I've written mine.
I've written it in.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh. For the listener, you can't see.
Yeah, we didn't all just climax at the same time. And there is someone in this call who is incredible at guessing.
Oh no!
Because the winner is Ronan, because it's 1780. You're 10 years off.
Oh no way!
Yeah. So everyone. So for listeners, Ronan put 1770 and Louis put 1869. And Ronan was 10 years off.
I swear this has been a recurring thing.
You've been like 10 off.
Everything other than random guesses.
Yeah, you've been about 10% off on every single one. You had to guess the length of a fox?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was on one of them. I can't remember the reason.
That one.
Oh yeah, Fleet Foxes.
Fleet Foxes, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Cool. Well, so that is 1 point to Ronan. It's 3-2 into the last round, so unfortunately, Louis, you can't win the BBC quiz. And then, I wonder if maybe I'll come up with a quick question if there's a draw. But the final question on club, where is I mean, we're already speaking of the biggest pub in the world, but where's the biggest club in the world? And I'll give you three hints. Oh wait, would it make sense because you might choose the same one? Do you want to just guess without?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll buzz it.
Okay, yeah, buzz.
Do we have to guess a country or a place? In fact, I'm just going to guess a place. I'm going to say Berlin.
You bastard! That was going to be my guess.
So Germany was one of my options, but it was not the correct answer.
Oh,
Or is not the correct answer.
Oh.
I'll let you both keep going until one of you gets it. Well, I don't know. You could just reel it off then. We'll take turns going. So Louis, you're next and first one to get there.
Yeah. Sorry,
yeah. I'm gonna buzz in with the biggest club is in Dubai.
It's a good guess. But it's not the correct answer.
Oh.
I'll narrow it down now to Europe, and then after you both have the guess, I'll try and narrow it down again.
I'm gonna guess England, but that actually now I regret that.
Yeah, no, not England. It could be. I could see like fucking Slough or something. It's like a weird place having a weirdly big club, but no, it's not correct. Louis?
Poland.
No, not correct. How can I narrow it down more? It's South Europe.
Buzz.
Well, yeah, I guess you both.
Italy.
Yeah, go for it.
Bastard.
Incorrect.
No.
Oh, well, South Europe. Spain.
Ding, ding, ding! Oh, we have a winner! Ibiza specifically.
Oh,
yeah.
Obviously
Ibiza.
Of course.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, my mind didn't go.
Well done. Yeah, it was, and I'm pretty sure it was like definitely the biggest club. It came up a lot, so yeah. But yeah, well done, Ronan. You won 4-2.
Thank you. What's the prize?
God. My gratitude.
Do I not get any gratitude for inviting me on the podcast?
I hate you now, Louis.
Oh no!
I can't believe you failed.
My prize is going to be looking up this club. Wow.
Yeah, a free played all exclusive trip to the Privilege in Ibiza is what it's called.
Big.
Originally known as Coup Club.
I've got to say though, I've been to Warehouse Project in Manchester, and I swear that's bigger. Maybe it doesn't count as a club.
I don't know. It has 10,000 people apparently.
Oof. Okay. Yeah. Maybe Warehouse Project isn't bigger.
Thank you very much for hosting that quiz, Tom. Good questions, very much in the spirit of how we like to do it. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, me winning.
Fuck off.
Sorry. I'm an awful winner. It goes for
see, I thought Louis would have more chance of winning just because I've known Louis for longer and like our psyches are probably a bit more linked, so that maybe Louis would have got the questions. But clearly, you're just terrible, and Ronan's the best.
Well, Ronan's a genius, you know. So how am I ever supposed to compete? Man has just an incredible ability to guess really close to the real answer. So I'll always lose closest to questions.
Those guesses were incredible.
Natural ability. Like we said, he did it before with the length of a fox. It's just madness. He just innately knows these things.
I mean, like to the extent that it has got me concerned that it looks like cheating. But you guys can hear what I type, right?
Yeah, I trust you not to be cheating. We may need to do an independent review at some point, though. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us, Tom. Thank you for your album recommendation, and I hope that if people like the way that we made it sound, they go away and give it a listen if they've never heard it before, or go back and have a bit of a nostalgia trip if it's one that they have heard and enjoyed before. Thank you for listening. Ronan, thank you for joining as always. If you want to get in touch, we have an email address. You can send us some fan mail. If you're a fan, more of something else entirely at gmail.com. And we also have an Instagram page where we kind of post when we upload a new episode. If you want to follow us on there. And I think that's pretty much the roundup. You can find us again. I always find it interesting that this is left to the end of a podcast. But if you've managed to make it all the way through on a platform that you dislike and you want to find us elsewhere, you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and we're on YouTube as well, and other smaller podcasting hosts as well. I don't want to say smaller. That sounds like I'm throwing shade. Yeah, I'm just blathering now. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
You're right.
Goodbye.
It doesn't make sense them leaving that to the end. It's spot on. Anyway, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. See ya. Thanks for having me.
In the capitalists proffer napalm and money in green suitcases to the naked. And the communists create heavy industry. But the heart is also heavy.